The funeral home was filled with soft music and quiet whispers. People dressed in black moved slowly through the room, pausing for a moment by the casket. Flowers filled the air with a heavy scent. Jenna Miles stood still, her eyes fixed on her husband Mark's face. His skin looked too pale, too still. She wore a plain black dress, her hands trembling as they held a small tissue. Her eyes were red but dry now. There were no more tears left. Around her, Mark's family moved like shadows, cold eyes, quiet words. They barely looked at her. From the corner of the room, Elaine Miles watched Jenna closely. Mark's mother had never liked her. Jenna had tried for years to be accepted, but it was never enough. And now, with Mark gone, Elaine's gaze was sharper than ever. The last of the mourners left. The room emptied, leaving only a few family members behind. Jenna took a deep breath and reached out, touching the edge of the casket with her fingertips. "I love you," she whispered. Behind her, heels clicked on the floor. Jenna turned to see Elaine standing there, arms crossed, lips tight. "You were never really one of us," Elaine said coldly. "Now that Mark is gone, we'd like you to leave the house." Today, Jenna blinked, confused. "What?" "The house was Mark's," Elaine said, pulling out a folder and shoving it into Jenna's hands. "And according to the will, it goes back to the family." Jenna opened the folder with shaky fingers. Legal papers, words she didn't understand. Her heart raced. "No, Mark told me. He said the house was ours. He promised." Elaine's face stayed hard. "Well, he lied, or he changed his mind. Either way, you need to be out before sunset. Darren will come by to make sure you've packed." Darren, Mark's older brother, stood in the doorway, smirking. He said nothing, but the look on his face said it all. He was enjoying this. Jenna stared down at the papers. Everything was spinning. It didn't make sense. She had just buried her husband, and now they were throwing her out like trash. She didn't argue. She didn't scream. She just turned and walked out of the funeral home. Outside, the sky had turned dark, and rain poured down in heavy sheets. Her thin dress clung to her skin as she stepped into the street, holding the folder close to her chest. She had nowhere to go, no one to call. Everything she thought was hers had been ripped away in a single moment, and deep inside, a truth she hadn't spoken to anyone: she was pregnant. 5 years ago, Jenna was just a small-town girl with big dreams. She moved to Atlanta for college, full of hope, and ready to start a new chapter. She didn't have much, just a few boxes, a part-time job, and a heart full of determination. One day at a small bookstore, she met Mark Miles. He wasn't loud or flashy like most people in the city. He was quiet, thoughtful, and kind. He asked her about the book in her hands, and they talked for almost an hour without even realizing it. From that day on, they kept seeing each other. Mark came from a rich family. The Miles family owned many buildings and land around the city. They were powerful, respected, and proud. But Mark never wanted any part of that life. He told Jenna he wanted something different, something simple and real. He became a school teacher, teaching literature to high school students. He loved books, music, and helping kids believe in themselves. Jenna loved that about him. He listened to her dreams too. She wanted to be an artist and open her own gallery one day. They supported each other in everything. After just 8 months, they got married in a small park under a tree filled with hanging lights. Mark's family barely came. Elaine, his mother, wore black like it was a funeral. Darren, his brother, didn't speak a word to Jenna, but Mark held her hand the whole time and whispered, "You're all I need." They lived in a small house that Mark had bought quietly, away from the family business. They were happy, even if they didn't have much. Jenna painted, Mark taught. They laughed, cooked, and dreamed. But now, everything had changed. Mark was gone. Jenna stood alone, thrown out of the house that once held their memories. All she had left was her art studio, a small space she rented behind an old coffee shop. It smelled like paint and dust. She slept on a mattress on the floor and ate instant noodles most nights. She remembered something Mark had once mentioned, something about a trust fund. He'd been working on a secret project, something he wanted to surprise her with, but he never got the chance to tell her more. Jenna went to the bank, hoping to find something, anything, but the man behind the desk shook his head. "You're not listed on any of the accounts," he said. "I'm sorry." She left with a knot in her stomach. What had Mark been hiding, and why didn't his family know? Meanwhile, the Miles family started talking. They told anyone who would listen that Jenna was only with Mark for his money. They said she tricked him, that she used him. Some even said she was already planning to take everything before he died. People began to look at her differently. Even friends she thought she could trust stopped calling. Rumors spread fast, and Jenna had no way to fight back. She sat in her studio one night, painting a soft, sad sky. Her hands moved slowly, her body tired. She was angry, but more than that, she was hurt. She had loved Mark truly, with all her heart, and now she was alone. But deep inside, she knew there was more to the story. Mark wouldn't have left her with nothing, not if he had a choice. So she picked up her phone, took a deep breath, and started searching. There had to be answers. She just had to find them. Jenna was sitting on the cold floor of her studio, holding a warm cup of tea when her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. She almost didn't answer, but something told her to pick up. "Hello?" Her voice was soft and tired. "Mrs. Miles?" a calm voice asked. "This is Thomas Harmon. I was your husband Mark's personal lawyer. I believe we need to speak privately." Jenna sat up straighter. Mark had a personal lawyer? Yes. We were friends as well. I wasn't involved with the rest of his family's business. That's why he trusted me. They agreed to meet the next morning at Mr. Harmon's small office downtown. It was quiet and filled with books. He greeted her with a kind smile and a warm handshake. Jenna felt nervous, unsure of what to expect. "I'm very sorry for your loss," Mr. Harmon said, offering her a glass of water. "Mark was a good man. He often spoke of you with deep love." "Thank you," she whispered. He opened a folder and placed some papers in front of her. "I asked you here because I need to tell you something very important. Mark came to me about 6 months ago. He created a second will." Jenna blinked. "A second will?" "Yes, a separate one from the version his family now has. In this second will, Mark left everything to you, the house, his savings, and a real estate investment he made quietly. An apartment complex, actually. It's in your name, though you probably didn't know that yet." Jenna stared at the papers, not sure what to say. "But if he left me all that, why don't I have it?" Mr. Harmon sighed. "He asked me to hold on to the will until he filed it officially. We were supposed to meet again the following week, but he passed before that happened." "So what does that mean?" "It means the will isn't legally filed. That makes things harder. Unless we can prove this will is real and was Mark's true intention, the court will go with the first one, the one his family showed you." Jenna's heart sank. "They'll win. They're trying to, but there's still hope. If we can find evidence, witnesses, documents, even a letter, anything that proves Mark meant for this to be the real will, we can fight back." Jenna took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. "But they're hiding everything. They won't help." "I know," Mr. Harmon said, "but I believe you, and I think we can find a way." Jenna looked down at the will again. Her name written clearly, Mark's handwriting. He had wanted to take care of her. Even after death, she thought of the house, of the love they shared, of how his family had tossed her out like garbage. She thought of all the lies they were spreading. Then she thought of the child growing inside her, the tiny heartbeat she had heard alone in a quiet clinic. She hadn't told anyone, not even Mr. Harmon. "I have to fight," she said quietly. Mr. Harmon nodded. "Yes, for what's right, for him." Jenna stood up, stronger than she had felt in days. "We'll find proof. I'll do whatever it takes." She left the office that day, with the second will tucked safely in her bag. The world outside still felt cold, but something inside her had changed. She wasn't just grieving now, she was ready to fight. The days after Jenna met Mr. Harmon felt heavier than ever. She had hope now, but the fight was only beginning. Elaine and the rest of the Miles family didn't sit quietly. They started spreading lies about Jenna to everyone who would listen. In newspapers, online, and even at the school where Mark used to teach, people whispered cruel things. "She only married Mark for money. She faked that will. She's not even really grieving." Elaine made sure her powerful friends in the city helped her. She used every connection to block the second will from being accepted. She sent letters, made calls, and even tried to discredit Mr. Harmon. Jenna didn't have money to fight back. She was still living in her art studio. No heat, no bed, just her paints and a thin blanket. She sold small pieces of art to buy food and bus tickets. She sometimes skipped meals just to save enough for the lawyer's bills. At night, she talked to Mark in her mind. "You wouldn't believe what they're doing," she would whisper to the dark. "But I won't give up. I won't." Her body felt weak some days. Her stomach turned often, and she knew why. She was pregnant, Mark's child, but she kept it a secret. If Elaine found out, she might twist it into something ugly. Jenna didn't want their baby used as a weapon. She visited clinics in different parts of the city, never giving her real name. She listened to the heartbeat during checkups, holding back tears. She wished Mark was there to hear it. Meanwhile, her phone stopped ringing. Friends she once laughed with didn't return her calls. Some even believed the rumors. She felt truly alone. Even when the city buzzed around her, Jenna walked through it like a ghost. One rainy afternoon, Mr. Harmon called her with a lead. "There's someone you should meet. Her name is Amara. Who is she?" "She used to work for Mark. She witnessed him signing the second will." Jenna's heart jumped. "She saw it?" "Yes. But there's a problem. Elaine had her fired years ago. It got ugly. Amara is scared of her." Jenna agreed to meet Amara in a quiet park the next day. Amara was a gentle woman in her 40s, wearing a big scarf and sunglasses. She looked around nervously before speaking. "I remember Mark asking me to witness the will," she said softly. "He told me he wanted everything to go to you. He said he didn't trust his family." "Can you tell the court?" Jenna asked. Amara shook her head. "I want to help, but if I do, Elaine will ruin me. She has power." Jenna understood. She thanked Amara and let her go. But the meeting gave her a small flame of hope. At least she knew the truth was out there. Weeks passed and things got harder. Mr. Harmon managed to get a court date. The legal battle was set to begin. One afternoon, Darren knocked on the studio door uninvited. He wore a fake smile and handed her an envelope. $50,000, he said. "Take it and walk away." Jenna stared at the money. Her stomach growled. Her hands were cold. That money could make life easier. But then she thought of Mark, of their love, of their unborn child. She pushed the envelope back into Darren's hands. "No," Darren laughed bitterly. "You're going to regret that." After he left, Jenna cried. Not because she doubted her choice, but because she was tired. So tired. But she wasn't giving up. At night, as she lay on her thin mattress, she pulled a small painting from under her blanket. It was of a quiet lake, something she and Mark had visited once. On the back, she had written his words. "If anything ever happens to me, fight. Promise me." She touched her stomach and whispered, "I promised, and I meant it." Then she added, "You won't be born into shame. They'll know who your father really was." Even in the darkness, that truth gave her light. The courtroom was quiet as people slowly filled the seats. Jenna sat beside Mr. Harmon, hands clenched in her lap. Her heart was racing. She looked down, unable to meet the eyes of Elaine or Darren sitting across the room. Elaine wore a dark suit, her face cold and proud. Beside her was a sharp, expensive-looking lawyer who spoke with confidence and smiled like a snake. When the hearing began, Elaine's lawyer stood up and painted Jenna as a liar. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the judge and the small group watching, "this woman was after the Miles family's money from the beginning. And now, after Mark's death, she suddenly produces a second will. A will no one saw until now. She forged it. She planned this." Jenna sat still, staring at the floor. She felt every word like a slap. Then Darren took the stand. "My brother loved our family," he said. "He would never cut us out." Jenna had control over him. She took advantage of his kindness. She made up that second will. He looked at Jenna with fake sadness. "She's not who she says she is." Mr. Harmon stood up and fought back, asking strong questions. He reminded the court that Mark had hired him separately, had written the will himself. But without more proof, it wasn't enough. Jenna felt her hope slipping away. Then, just before closing statements, the courtroom doors opened. Everyone turned. Amara walked in. Her steps were slow but firm. She walked straight to the front and whispered something to the clerk. The judge raised an eyebrow and called her to the stand. "I know this isn't usual," Mr. Harmon said, "but this witness is key." Elaine's lawyer stood up. "Objection." "Overruled," the judge said. "Let's hear her." Amara sat down, nervous but determined. "I worked for Mark Miles for 2 years," she began. "I saw him sign the second will. He told me he wanted everything to go to Jenna. He said his family wouldn't understand, but he trusted her." She paused, looking directly at Elaine. "After that, Elaine found out I knew. She had me fired, told me to keep quiet if I didn't want trouble." Gasps filled the room. Elaine's face turned pale. "That's the truth," Amara finished softly. Mr. Harmon nodded. "Thank you." Then Jenna stood up. "There's one more thing," she said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small voice recorder. "This was given to me by Amara," she said. It's from Mark. The judge leaned forward. Play it. Jenna pressed the button. Mark's voice filled the room. Calm. Honest. If I'm not around, give this to Jenna. This will is real. I'm making it official Monday. I trust her more than I trust anyone. The room went completely still. Elaine looked like she'd been hit. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened, then shut. Darren looked away, embarrassed. The judge took a moment, then finally spoke. This court finds the second will valid. The voice recording confirms the intent of the deceased. All property and assets listed in the second will are to be granted to Jenna Miles. The courtroom stayed silent. No one moved. Jenna didn't smile. She didn't cry out. She simply closed her eyes as tears rolled down her cheeks. Tears of relief, not victory. Tears for Mark, for the truth, for everything she had lost, and everything she had finally reclaimed. Jenna stood in front of the house, the same house where she once lived with Mark, the same house Elaine had thrown her out of. Now, it was hers again. She walked inside slowly. The rooms were quiet, the furniture covered in white cloths. Everything felt still, but not empty. There was peace here now. It no longer felt like a place of sadness. It felt like a fresh start. She ran her fingers along the wall. Memories came back. Mark laughing in the kitchen, them dancing in the living room, late-night talks on the couch. But instead of tears, Jenna smiled. The house was hers. Not just because of the court, but because of the love she and Mark had shared here. Weeks later, she opened a small art gallery in town. It was bright and full of colour. Her paintings hung on the walls, pieces she had created in her hardest times. At the entrance, carved in wood, was a quote Mark had loved. Art is how we tell the truth, even when we're not here to speak. People came in quietly at first, then more each week. They asked about the quote. Jenna would smile and say, "It was my husband's favourite." She didn't need to explain more. One afternoon, she held a baby shower in the garden behind the gallery. It was a soft, sunny day. Nothing big, just close friends. Amara was there, sitting with a plate of fruit and smiling warmly. Mr. Harmon came too, offering gentle jokes and fatherly advice. A teacher who once worked with Mark brought handmade gifts and stories from the school. Jenna looked around and felt something she hadn't in a long time: belonging. She didn't hear much from Elaine anymore, but whispers spread in the town. People started asking questions about how Elaine handled Mark's estate, about her pressure on people like Amara, about Darren and his business deal. Soon, Darren was being investigated for fraud. Some buildings he sold weren't properly licensed. People were talking, and the Miles family name wasn't what it used to be. But Jenna didn't care about revenge. She didn't celebrate Elaine's fall. She had her own life to live now, one filled with art, honesty, and quiet strength. She spent her mornings painting, her afternoons walking in the park. She read books aloud to her belly, telling the baby inside about the father they would never meet, but who loved them deeply. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. The court had ruled. The truth had come out. But more importantly, she had kept her promise to Mark. She had fought, and now she was free. A few months passed. It was a quiet evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. Jenna sat on the front porch of the house, her house, holding her newborn baby close. The baby slept peacefully in her arms, wrapped in a soft blanket. The porch swing moved gently as she rocked back and forth, listening to the sound of the wind through the trees. For the first time in a long while, she felt calm, safe, whole. She looked out over the yard, where she and Mark once dreamed of raising a family. Now that dream lived in her arms. Jenna reached into the side table drawer and pulled out a folded letter. The paper was old and slightly wrinkled. She had found it hidden inside one of Mark's books a few days ago. Her hands shook a little as she opened it and began to read. "If they ever try to erase you, know this. You are my legacy. Not the buildings, not the money, just you." Her eyes filled with tears, but they didn't fall from sadness. They were tears of love, of strength, of truth. She held the letter close to her chest, then looked down at her baby. "You have a good father," she whispered. "He loved you before you were even here." The baby moved a little in her arms, still asleep. Jenna leaned in and kissed the child's forehead. Then she looked out at the sky one more time, her voice soft but full of power. They didn't know, but now they will. The light faded gently. Fade out. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time. Bye. Let me know if you'd like the full 7,000 word version now, or if you want to revise or expand a specific section first.